Throughout history, humans have invented ways to inflict unimaginable pain. These are not myths or tales. They are real, terrifying devices used to punish, control, and terrorize. Some were designed to prolong suffering for hours, days, even weeks. Today, we'll explore 15 of the most brutal torture devices you've probably never heard of. Machines of agony so horrifying that even history tried to forget them. From medieval Europe to ancient civilizations, rulers and enforcers used torture to maintain power. Confessions, punishment, intimidation. These devices weren't just about pain, they were carefully engineered tools of control. What you're about to see will make you grateful for modern justice systems, and maybe never look at history the same way again. Number 1. The Iron Maiden. A coffin lined with spikes is perhaps the most infamous torture device. Victims were shut inside, and the spikes were carefully positioned to pierce without causing immediate death, prolonging agony. Though some historians debate whether it was widely used, its legend alone terrified centuries. One legend tells of a prisoner who was placed inside, screaming for hours before being found. The Iron Maiden's spikes carefully avoiding vital organs, making the suffering last longer. Number 2. Brazen Bull. Invented in ancient Greece, the brazen bull was a hollow bronze statue. Victims were locked inside while a fire roared beneath, roasting them alive. Ingeniously cruel, the screams were designed to sound like a bull's roar, turning agony into an eerie spectacle for onlookers. Perilos, the inventor, reportedly demonstrated it on criminals, proving that human screams could be turned into sound, almost musical in its horror. 3. The rack stretched victims by tying hands and feet to rollers. Limbs could dislocate, sometimes fatally. It was favored by inquisitors and rulers to extract confessions, and the psychological terror often broke prisoners before their bodies did. 4. The Judas cradle. This forced victims to sit atop a pyramid-shaped seat, slowly lowering their weight onto a sharp point. Hours or even days of torment could pass, combining unbearable pain with psychological torture, watching the slow inevitability of suffering. 5. The pear of anguish was inserted into the mouth, rectum, or vagina, then expanded. Its purpose: punish, extract confessions, and humiliate. It's a chilling reminder of how invention was sometimes applied solely to cruelty. 6. Unlike the rack, the scavenger's daughter compressed the body. Victims were forced into a crouching position, breaking bones and cutting off circulation. Public demonstrations of this device were meant to terrify entire towns. 7. The Catherine wheel shattered limbs while displaying victims publicly. Sometimes death took hours, letting townspeople watch. It was punishment and spectacle combined, a terrifying method to enforce obedience. 8. The head crusher slowly crushed the skull with a metal cap and screw. Victims would lose consciousness gradually, a device designed to maximize fear and suffering in equal measure. 9. The Spanish tickler tore flesh from the body. Often used on fingers and toes, it was excruciating, yet considered a precision tool to extract confessions. 10. The heretic's fork prevented movement of the head. Victims couldn't speak or lower their chin without intense pain. Some endured hours or days in this position, their necks screaming silently. 11. The garrote was a strangulation device used for execution. Some variants allowed slow, excruciating death, combining physical pain with psychological terror as victims awaited their final breath. 12. The torture table looked ordinary but hid spikes beneath. Victims were restrained and slowly lowered, piercing their bodies. It's an example of how fear was engineered through deception. 13. The pillory punished not just the body, but the mind. Victims were humiliated publicly, exposed to the elements, ridicule, and physical attacks. Pain was social as well as physical. 14. The iron cage left victims trapped, sometimes suspended high, slowly starving or dying from exposure. It was punishment designed to terrify entire communities. 15. The breaking chair immobilized victims while mechanisms crushed their bodies. It's a chilling reminder of how creativity was applied to cruelty in pursuit of power and fear. But the real question is, why did these devices exist in the first place? What kind of world creates tools built specifically to break the human body and the human spirit? To understand that, you have to step back into a time when fear ruled everything. A time when kings, churches, and armies believed that pain was the fastest path to obedience. Confessions didn't have to be true. They just had to be forced out, and torture was the technology they trusted to get answers, even if those answers were completely fabricated. In medieval Europe, justice wasn't about evidence, it was about control. And torture was one of the most effective and terrifying tools for maintaining it. Most of these brutal inventions didn't come from a single person. Instead, they evolved slowly across kingdoms, empires, and religious institutions. Engineers, blacksmiths, and executioners all contributed, not because they were evil, but because that was their job. Some even competed to design more efficient devices, a dark mirror to the innovation we celebrate today. Think about that. While some people were inventing compasses, clocks, telescopes, others were inventing spikes, cages, wheels, and screws designed to prolong suffering. Two sides of human creativity developing at the same time. The list of crimes that could get you tortured was shockingly broad. Sometimes it was murder or treason, but other times it was stealing bread, speaking against the church, or simply being in the wrong place at the wrong time. In the 1500s, even rumors could get you taken into a dungeon. No proof needed, just suspicion. Imagine living in a world where a neighbor's whisper could lead to you being strapped to a device built to tear you apart. Torture wasn't just a punishment, it was a message, a warning, a public display of power. But there's something even darker behind all of this. Fear wasn't just a byproduct, it was the point. Torture wasn't only used to hurt individuals, it was used to control entire populations. If one person screamed, 1,000 others stayed silent. And the people in charge knew this. They understood the psychology. Fear spreads faster than truth, and pain makes people compliant. That's why towns would gather in public squares to watch punishments, not for entertainment, but as a reminder of who held the power and what disobedience cost. So when did this nightmare finally end? It didn't stop suddenly. It faded out slowly, over centuries. As science advanced, as people questioned old systems, as human rights began to form, torture lost its place in the courts. By the 18th and 19th centuries, many countries outlawed it, not because humans became kinder overnight, but because torture simply didn't work. People will say anything under enough pain. True justice requires truth, not terror. Yet these devices remain a chilling reminder of what humanity is capable of. Not only the cruelty, but the creativity behind that cruelty. They show a side of history we often want to forget, but must never ignore. Because understanding the past is the only way to prevent it from happening again. If you've watched until now, congratulations. You've just witnessed some of the darkest inventions in human history. Before you go, there's something I want you to remember. These torture devices, as brutal and unimaginable as they are, represent only a tiny fraction of what humanity has done to itself. For every device we know about, there are others that were never recorded, never discovered, never meant to be remembered. And some of the darkest methods in history were never metal or wood or spikes. They were psychological, invisible, silent, and in many ways, far worse. So if you want to explore the mysteries the history books never told you, make sure you're here for what comes next, because this is just the beginning.